Hi, my friends. It's Mr. P again. This week, Miss Oleski is going to read a book in her video read of If I Built a Boat. And in that story, this character builds a lot of different things, mostly with his imagination. And he imagines things that he could build in his school to make it, in his mind, better, more fun. So I thought that we could go along with our water theme and imagined if I built a boat. So all our snow has been melting. We had nice weather the end of last week. Got our shorts back out, got our t-shirts, got outside maybe a little bit, and now the snow all melted. Okay? So imagine if all that snow melted and there was so much water that we had to take a boat to get to school. So we're going to build a boat, and you can build it however you want. But some of the things that I'm going to use today to show you are things like tin foil, straws, Q-tips, paper or cardboard, and popsicle sticks. You can use anything you want, but as long as you think it's going to float, that means not sink down into the water. And I'll show you that part in a little bit. So, think of things that are lighter. Even the tin foil, if we balled it up enough, would eventually sink if we made it dense enough, a big enough piece, a ball of it. That would sink too. So we have to make it in such a way that it's still going to float, but be able to hold things, because we're going to put things like our beads and even ice cubes and wooden pieces into the boat to see how much the boat can hold and still float. Because we'll be reading another book called Who Sank the Boat when we actually experiment with our boats, all right? But for this, you can build anything you want. If you want to use a piece of a box that you think is light enough, like a tissue box, a small tissue box, or a small box that you have around, like the small milk cartons we have sometimes at school that you might be getting for your lunches still, you can use something like that. Totally use your imagination. Even a paper cup or a small plastic cup, but then you'll have to find a way to keep it steady and keep it from sinking or tipping over. So, just a few pieces of tin foil. If you go to the dollar store, they actually have it already. They have it already where you can buy it in boxes that come in sheets. But this is cool. You can just rip it off, and however you want to do it. You can fold it to maybe start the bottom of your boat, and then crumpling up the sides and forming the walls. So it's starting to look maybe like a bowl to you, but it could be starting to look like a boat. Now, your boat is not going to look like Mr. P's, nor should it. You might have the idea of a sailboat in your mind. You might have a big cruise ship on your mind, or a pirate ship. It could be any type of boat or ship that you want. All right. So, again, however you want to fold it and mold it. Then you can also, to help make it sturdy, you could put paper, cut it, and put it in the bottom to make it a little sturdier, so when we drop the pieces into it, you don't have to. Maybe you want to use more tin foil instead. However you think you can add to it. This is one that I started a little bit ahead of time. All right. And it might look a little bit more, actually if I hold it this way, it looks like a carton of milk. You can see I've got walls because I don't want the sides, the wall sides, I don't want anything to fall out when we put it in. All right, and I actually put a little extra tin foil on the bottom, but I'm also going to put an extra little piece of paper in there, which will help hold up the sides a little bit, and will also sturdy the bottom. You can put tape on it. Don't use a lot, because remember, the more weight you add to it, the less likely it is to float. All right. If you want to help it float, maybe adding something like a straw to it to help balance it. Maybe you want to put it out to the sides, one on each side, one in front, one in back, however you want to do it. Miss Oleski actually gave me the idea for the Q-tips. She thought that they would float really well, so maybe you want to attach those to your boat. Because Miss Oleski gave me the idea, I'm going to include it in this video. So I'm going to take some tape, and I'm going to attach it on the back of my boat. All right. And if you want to use a little glue, that will probably work too. I'm just using tape because that's what I have handy, and For me, it's a little easier to work with. So I just put it on the back. You might want to put it lower towards the water. Maybe you want to try putting it in between. Maybe you want to put 3 on there. I'm going to put 1 on the back, and I'm going to put 1 on each side. Do you have to do it this way? No, of course not. Look in your kits that you got from school. You might decide to use some of the straws, the feathers in there, some of the other materials that Miss Jessica gave you. It is up to you how you want your boat to look, how you want it to look like in terms of size, in terms of design. It shouldn't be too big, and we'll get to that in a second, because it's going to have to sit in a container of water. But it doesn't have to be super teeny tiny either, because we want to be able to fit some beads and some wood and maybe an ice cube or 2 into it. So I just taped it onto the side. So she thought that that would help it float when it got to the water, that those would hold it up. So we'll see. We'll see if Miss Oleski was right with that. All right. And again, you can add straws. You could try different types of wood, like the popsicle sticks. You could go out and get leaves and twigs and pieces of bark maybe to use. Maybe you want to find, maybe you can find a big enough piece of bark that can be the body of your boat. Who knows? So it doesn't have to be just things that you have in the house or things that came in your art kits. It could be things that you find around the yard or in nature too. Remember, we were talking about a lot with nature with Miss Marissa recently, with the patterns and stuff. So there might be something that you can find there. Now, eventually you can build it however you want. And then we're going to build these in whole group too. And then in small group, we're going to actually see if they would float. And you can do this at home too. You might even want to test it a little before group. A cake pan like this, basically about 2 inches deep, is good. We're not going to fill this the whole way, maybe about halfway, just enough so that once the boat starts to sink, it will touch the bottom. If you have a mixing bowl or some type of small plastic container, that is fine. You are still going to use your tray, because you're going to put whatever container you use onto the blue tray, so that if it does spill, it goes into the blue tray and not on your family's floor or rug or anything else, all right? So experiment with this. Maybe you want to change the shape. Maybe you want to change the materials a little. Have fun with it. Maybe you want to paint yours. Maybe you want to put a sticker on it. It's totally up to you. This is my boat. I want to see what you would build if you had to build a boat to get to school. Remember, it can't sink. We don't want to get wet on our way to school. All right? I'll see you guys later. Have fun with this. I'm excited to see what you make. I'll talk to you later. Bye.